Hey guys, it's Kingdom Orange 2 here, and welcome back to my channel. So in my last video, I had so much fun rewatching and explaining things that didn't make sense about Monster High that I decided to make another one this time about everyone's favorite show, Winx Club. Now, unlike Monster High, Winx Club's main focus is getting viewers to watch a TV show and not just on dolls. So I don't feel as bad about picking apart plot elements and holes that I just didn't understand. Winx Club has been on air for 18 years and has spanned over 8 seasons, so there was a lot to choose from. While I personally didn't spend the time to rewatch the entire series, I checked out some clips, read some articles, and wrote down a list of things that I remember didn't make sense. And while Winx Club is comprised of many different mediums, this video will strictly focus on just the cartoon. I did, however, add some information from the comics to further my points, but I don't regard it to be canon. So with that being said, let's talk about the 9 things about Winx Club that just don't make sense to me. The Fall of Domino. The first topic I wanted to touch on was the destruction of Domino. Now this backstory is a little tricky to comprehend and spans across many different seasons, but there were always some questions I had in regards to little plot details. First of all, I never understood why the ancestral witches took thousands of years to find the dragon flame. You're telling me that the most powerful witches of all time could not find something that was practically common knowledge to most citizens of the magic dimension? And besides that, what was the purpose of the ancestral witches finding the dragon flame? They already found a spark of it, which they shaped into Valtor. So why wouldn't they just use him to obtain the ultimate power of Relix? Also, Daphne's part in this story doesn't really make sense. Originally, we were told that Daphne was a nymph who was killed by the ancestral witches when they attacked Domino, and that her spirit now resides at the bottom of Lake Roccaluce in Magix. However, in Season 5, we learned that she isn't actually dead, but was turned into a disembodied spirit when she tried to use Sirenix against the ancestral witches. But this raises a lot of questions. Like, why would Daphne acquire Sirenix in the first place? What made her think that obtaining an ancient aquatic power would be best in fighting the ancestral witches? And how was she able to convince Politia that this was a good idea? Besides this, what were Politia and Daphne doing in the infinite ocean fighting the ancestral witches anyway? While I do appreciate the writers wanting to include Daphne into the storyline, I just feel like they could have come up with something that explained why she needed Sirenix better, or scrapped Politia's inclusion in the plot. The Earth Fairies. According to Faragonda, centuries ago, fairies and humans coexisted peacefully on Earth, until one day the fairy hunters arrived. Wanting the fairies' magic for themselves, they forged the mystical Black Circle, a powerful object which allowed them to capture the fairies, steal their magic and wings, and seal them away in their own realm, Tirnon Og. One by one, the fairies were defeated until the wizards had won. The people of Earth forgot about fairies, who became nothing more than legendary figures they read about in fairy tales. The Earth had nobody to protect it anymore, and the human world with no protection slipped into chaos, war, and intolerance. The queen of the fairies, Morgana, wanted to live a normal life among the humans. She met a man named Klaus and had a daughter named Roxy, who later became a fairy herself. Morgana, however, was eventually captured by the wizards and all memories of her were wiped away. But this story doesn't add up. First of all, Morgana also claims to have been locked away for centuries like the other fairies. Now I know the word century is terribly defined in the Winx Club universe, but we see portraits of the Wizards of the Black Circle wearing medieval outfits, which prove these events happened hundreds of years ago. And even if Morgana was able to avoid being captured for all that time, why would she have let the world crumble? Was she hatching a plan to save the others? What also never made sense about this was the Wizards of the Black Circle just kind of appeared again out of nowhere. Bloom finds her painting in the Hall of Enchantment, and suddenly they attack her at Alfea. No explanation was ever given to how they were able to do this or why they were in the portrait in the first place. And don't even get me started trying to explain the Earth Fairies in general. They seem to be a sort of anomaly in the magic dimension, as they stay in their fairy forms for most of the time. They don't seem to have different fairy levels, and there appears to be many different types of them, ranging from the rustic fairies who look like weird little goat hybrids to the warrior fairies whose sole purpose is to fight. Magical Adventure. As much as I really love this movie, Magical Adventure is a sloppy mess. For starters, it's full of plot holes such as Naboo being alive even though he died at the end of season 4, Roxy not being present during the new school year ceremony at Alfea, the Winx not having a place to stay on Earth, and Sky proposing to Bloom without it ever being brought up again. Now according to the Winx Club Wikia, the reason this movie doesn't make sense is because production was started directly after the first movie and before season 4 was written. And if the Winx were in their Enchantix, all plot holes would be fixed. This certainly would have made more sense, but then why didn't the writers at least try to tie in the movie's plot to the beginning of season 5? Instead, we find ourselves back on Earth with no events from the movie ever having taken place. And while Nickelodeon did at least try to edit this movie so it would make more sense in the timeline, we still don't know when exactly any of this story would have taken place. Eldora and Selina. In season 6, we meet a witch known as Selina who claims to be from the planet Earth. We also later learn that she grew up with Bloom and was training to become a fairy with an elder woman named Eldora before she stole the Legendarium and fled to Cloud Tower. But wait a minute, wasn't Roxy the last fairy on Earth? How could Eldora have been training Selina years before this happened if all magic was gone until the Winx restored it? Also, Eldora claims to be a fairy godmother and is even seen having a fairy form. But I thought Faragonda said that past a certain age, fairies lose their ability to transform. And while I could take the time to figure out some way this all makes sense, I'm just gonna move on to the next topic. The Trix and the sister dilemma. When we first meet the Trix, the girls call themselves sisters, and while it was never explicitly stated, it was heavily implied that Icy was the eldest, followed by Darcy and then Stormy. Even Eugenio Straffi himself claims that the Trix were triplets who share their birthday on May 5th. And while the Trix's homeworld was never given in the series, according to the comics issue 27, the Trix grew up in the Ice Kingdom but left to attend Cloud Tower. In season 8, however, we learn that Icy was the princess of the planet Diamond. Years ago, the kingdom was taken over by a shaman witch who transformed the planet into an icy wasteland and turned her younger sister Sapphire into a fox. Wanting to save her sister and her homeworld, Icy vows to become the strongest witch in the magic dimension. When Darcy and Stormy learn about this mysterious history, they are also told by Icy that they aren't actually her sisters, because her only blood sister is Sapphire. And while I do find this backstory interesting and thought-provoking, it does raise a lot of questions. First of all, how did Darcy and Stormy not know they were her sisters? While I can believe that maybe Icy lied to them about that, what would have been her reasoning for this? Maybe after meeting Darcy and Stormy, she saw them as powerful allies and hoped that lying to them would let them stick by her side? A bond between sisters is strong. We knew that even if the Trix would fight or if Icy would treat Darcy and Stormy poorly, they would always stick together. But this backstory still raises more questions, such as how did Darcy and Stormy not know they were related to each other? And how do the ancestral witches fit into this equation? But I do believe that the idea that now the Trix are friends instead of sisters will definitely lead to some interesting stories in the future. The Sirenix Wishes. When the Winx acquired Sirenix, they were told by Omnia that once they had pleased destiny, they would each receive a wish. Now, while I think the writers only added these to the plot for fan service, we all know what we wanted the girls to wish for. Aisha was going to wish to bring Naboo back to life, Stella was going to wish for her parents to get back together, Musa was going to wish for her mother to be alive again, Bloom was going to wish to break the Sirenix curse on Daphne, and Techno was going to wish for her personality. But instead of these amazing wishes, we got lame ones. Like Stella wishing that her parents understood their feelings better, and Aisha using her wish to save her cousin Nereus. The only one who actually uses her wish the way we wanted to was Bloom. And on top of this, Musa didn't even use her wish. She mentions to her father that she thinks it would have been selfish to use her wish on her mother, but the writers completely forgot about her. I was hoping that when we saw Sirenix again in season 8, we would get to see Musa use her wish, but alas, I guess we'll never know. Miele's age. We first meet Miele, Flora's younger sister, in season 3, when the girls take a trip to Linfia to find a cure for Faragonda. While her age is not specifically stated, we can guess by her height and voice that she seems to be around 6 or 7 years old. We next see Miele again in season 6, when the Winx go to Linfia College to watch the specialists train. Not only does she appear to be considerably older and taller, but Flora also mentions she is a student there. What doesn't make sense, however, is that considering season 6 only takes place about 3 to 4 years after season 3, how did she age so fast? While it can be argued that maybe Miele was older than what she initially appeared to be, I refuse to believe that in season 3 she was 12 years old. And to add even further to this confusion, in season 8, Miele appears to be even younger than she was in season 6, as Flora is able to pick her up in her arms and carry her around. Diaspro. So we all know Diaspro. She's a princess from Heraklion who doesn't like Bloom because Sky wants to marry Bloom and not her. Now in the first 2 seasons, she isn't really a threat, but in the 3rd season, she teams up with Valtor and gives Sky a love potion so that he will fall in love with her. After her misdeeds, Sky tells Bloom that Diaspro was arrested by the guards and banished from Heraklion. But for some reason, 2 seasons later, Sky's father, King Arendor, appoints Diaspro to be his liaison. But it only gets worse from here. Not only does she lose her title of King's liaison for being a brat, somehow she manages to score an invitation at Daphne's coronation, where she proceeds to try and throw Bloom into a pit of flames. And on top top of that, in season 8, Sky is somehow dumb enough to not only believe that his father would ask her to help her with a mission, but go along with her anyways. As much as I love seeing Diaspro in this series, these storylines are really just unbelievable. And while I understand that she is a royal, so that means that she would probably face less time as punishment, why do these people keep trusting her? It's not like she's shown over time that she's a changed person. World of Winx. So the last topic I wanted to touch on is World of Winx. I know I said earlier that I would only be focusing on elements of the cartoon, but there's too many questions I have in regards to the spin-off. World of Winx follows the girls working as talent scouts on a hit TV show called WoW. While filming, they discover that someone has been kidnapping their talent, and the Winx must go undercover, while at the same time keeping their fairy identities a secret. Now, while the show is very entertaining and proved that the Winx writers could still come up with a good story, it does have one giant plot hole. Everyone knows the Winx are fairies because they were the ones who restored magic back on Earth. It could be argued that World of Winx takes place in an alternate universe, but that seems to be a cheap explanation. If the Winx weren't people of notoriety, why would they have been chosen to be stars on a TV show? The Winx do seem to be a popular band, but that storyline wasn't explored until season 2. And if the Winx hadn't restored magic back on Earth, why would Roxy have been in this show? Weirdly enough, the World of Winx doesn't align with the main cartoon, as the Winx are seen back in their Butterflix forms at the start of season 8. In issue 156 of the Winx Club comic book series, the events of World of Winx take place directly after the 7th season, as Farragonda alerts the Winx about the talent thief. Also, I just wanted to say thanks a lot, Netflix, for canceling this show. I really wanted to see what happened after Venomia exposed the Winx as fairies to the world. I tried my best spending time on major plot points rather than tiny details, but I realized while doing so there was still a lot that I wasn't able to touch on. I feel that I'll probably make a part 2 in the future, so make sure you stick around for that. I also want to point out that while Winx Club hasn't technically been cancelled, it appears that the show will be entirely revamped into the Winx Club shorts, which will feature 52 episodes of 13-minute length. While we don't know what the plot will be, from pictures taken at the Brand Licensing Expo in 2021, the show will feature the Winx in a new art style and transformation. And while I'm happy to hear that Winx Club hasn't been cancelled, it's still disappointing to know that season 8 was probably our last season of the show, especially since it didn't deliver as well as other seasons have in the past. If you liked this video today and want to see more content in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Thank you guys so much for watching today, and I will see you soon. Bye!